Welcome to All Things Financial with Jack Driscoll. Each week, Jack takes on all things you thought were hard to understand about your finances and makes it fun, easy, but most of all interesting. From insurance to the best way to save your money and squeeze the most out of the dollars you put aside for your rainy day. And now, you have a friend in the money business. Here's your host, Jack Driscoll.
Welcome back again, everyone, to another edition of All Things Financial. I discussed on a show a couple weeks ago the issue of how to protect your family, how to protect your businesses through the insurance policies that you have. And I started right off into the individual policy of car insurance and home insurance. And some of you will remember I brought up the issue on the car insurance side, and I want to continue with that discussion today. I was helping you read and learn how to read through your coverages and find out exactly what you do have. Are you protected? What changes you can make if you're not? So the first question at that point was, and I'll re-emphasize that today, is have you ever even pulled out your car insurance policies to review the coverages, or have you only pulled them out to shop for cheaper rates on whatever coverages you have without really looking at the coverages? So that was the topic of discussion, and we got through the liability limit and the liability insurance amount. That was the whole discussion as I was running down through the coverages, and I think I did a thorough job on that. So anyone who wants to review that, go to our website or YouTube or any of the reprints or rebroadcasts that are available, or contact my office. I'll get you access to that. So I wanted to continue that conversation because with car insurance policies, probably the first and one of the most considerations is indeed the amount of the liability insurance limit. And we talked about umbrella liability. Well, now today I want to get into other areas of coverages as we look down through what would be called the declarations pages on your car insurance. So for those of you that you're listening to this for the first time, if you're driving in a car, I want you to just think about this when you get home. Pull out a copy of your policies and look over the information. If you're already at home listening to this or watching it on TV, go pull out your policies and follow through with me, because on your policy renewal, you'll see what's called a declarations page. And on that declarations page, it'll list all your coverage limits. Now, here's what I want you to look for next. I want you to look at the tort option in Pennsylvania. We have an option of whether to choose full tort or limited tort. Now, most people I speak to don't have any idea what their coverages are. So to begin with, if I asked all of you, whether you're driving or at home, it won't matter. The majority of people I ask, on the first show I said no one knows their coverages. That's probably not true, but most don't. So if I said, what tort option do you have? Some might know, some might not. What limits of liability, uninsured motorists, etc. So I'll ask you on the tort option as a little quiz, what tort option do you think you have? Full tort or limited tort? You know, it's an insurance discussion, but it's really somewhat of a legal discussion. The issue of tort, I'm not an attorney, so I can't guide you on legal advice. And here it is, an insurance coverage option. So no insurance agents can really guide you on which option is right. But all of us try to, because it's an insurance choice that you make on the insurance policy. My best advice is contact your attorney and ask them what your best legal option is. So here's what happened. Back in 1990, prior to 1990 in Pennsylvania, there was no such thing as a tort option for your car insurance policies. What is tort? T-O-R-T. As far as we've been educated in the insurance industry side, tort can be generalized as the right to sue if we're injured in an accident for our pain and suffering. Now, I know I've said that wrong. I'm not an attorney. But that's how we were taught on the insurance side, that tort is, in general, the right to sue another party for causing injury to you in a car accident, maybe through their fault or maybe through no fault of their own. But if they're deemed to be liable and you, the injured party, or your family wanted to sue them or needed to sue them for your pain and suffering, you always had that right under Pennsylvania law, we're taught, prior to 1990. And then Governor Casey was trying to reduce the amount of frivolous, what they referred to as frivolous lawsuits for whiplash claims and pain and suffering. So they came out with an incentive, a carrot, if you will, to dangle in front of all insurance policyholders that you could save around 10% or more, sometimes 20% of your car insurance premiums to give up that right to sue for pain and suffering. You could save around 10 to 20% of your premiums. So Governor Casey decided if people are willing to give up, what they were really trying to figure out is how can we get people to give up their right to sue for pain and suffering? And they figured, well, the only incentive we could give is let's lower their insurance premiums, because the insurance companies are the ones that end up paying all the payouts. We may as well give an insurance premium to waive that right. So that's where they came up with, let's limit the tort options for those who choose to do so in return for, in exchange for, a premium reduction on their car insurance. So 1990, we had all this tort discussion, and a lot of people chose the limited tort and a lot of people chose the full tort. So my question to you this many years later is, what tort option do you have? Well, some of you might be surprised to find you still have the same tort option you chose way back in 1990 and have never looked back and have never looked forward and have never figured it out since. You just chose one willy-nilly and have continued it ever since. And even when you're shopping for coverages, no agents are asking you. They might just be asking, what option do you have? So we get to the tort option, and we have to re-explain what it is for you to then understand, well, wait a minute, I didn't know that. So I'll do my best right now. When you look at your car policies, it's hard to find sometimes on the first page or the second page, but it will be on one of those 2 pages, most likely, of the declarations page. And you'll see the word T-O-R-T, and in front of that word you'll see limited or you'll see full. And basically that means, generally, that if you're injured in an accident, you or a family member under that policy is able to or unable to sue another party for pain and suffering as a result of an accident. So if your car is damaged, can you collect under their liability? Yes, whichever option you have. Can you collect for your lost wages? Yes, for the most part. These are generalities, remember. Can you sue for your medical expenses? Basically, yes. And I'll get into details on that hopefully in another show. But basically, yes. So regardless of the tort option, your actual out-of-pocket expenses typically can be sued for regardless of the tort option. So then you'd say, well, if I have all of those issues, what is the difference? Why would I need full tort if all of those lost income, medical expenses, and the damage to my car, all my bills are paid for? And the issue sometimes gets to, what if it's an uninsured motorist? What if it's an underinsured motorist, like before my show you were? If you listen to my last week's show that I did on this, my first show, you were probably an underinsured motorist. So that means you had $100,000 bodily injury limit and somebody sued you for $500,000 or $700,000. You're an underinsured motorist. So if an underinsured or uninsured motorist hits you, especially an uninsured motorist, what about a hit and run driver? What about you got knocked out in the claim or had a coma, and when you came to, there wasn't anybody around. So you can't even find who hit you. Now your only recourse is going to your own policy. Now it matters if you have full tort or limited tort, if you need to make a claim under your own uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist, and even if you can find the other driver, if you're injured, you may have a situation where your medical bills are paid, you're all fixed, and you go back to work, but you have constant headaches, or you can't sit long because of your back injury now. You've been cleared to work. You've been cleared that you're healthy enough to work, but the pain makes it unbearable to work. You're a stock person at a grocery store. You can no longer do your job due to the pain. Well, that's pain and suffering, folks, and it might preclude you from leading the same similar lifestyle that you were before the accident. So now you may need to make a claim against the other party for that pain and suffering portion of the claim, which can be larger than any of the other portions, and find out, unbeknownst to you, that you have signed limited tort for the 10 or 20% premium reduction. And there's where the huge consequence is. It might be a lifelong consequence as opposed to the year-by-year premium savings. Here's how I look at coverages. Now, this is my own opinion and my own professional opinion, and everyone has a different opinion, but here's my professional opinion. In every area of car insurance, all the limits, we get to choose how much or how little. We get to choose if we want a certain coverage or go without that coverage. For example, we get to choose whether we want to insure for collision damage or comprehensive damage on our own car or go without. We know the consequence of that decision is, if we do choose the coverage, the consequence of that decision is the premium that we have to pay every year for that coverage. If we elect to go without that coverage, exclude that, take that coverage off, go without collision and comprehensive coverage on our car, then the consequence is, what if someone stole our car? Or what if someone totaled our car? Or what if we ourselves total our car and there's no one else to make a claim to? Well, we know the consequence of the decision, and we know the maximum consequence is the value of the car. So we know what we're giving up. We know the maximum amount if we don't insure our car, and it's worth $25,000. We've cost ourselves $25,000 we could have otherwise collected. And we know the premium reduction. Maybe we saved $500, let's say. But it's a finite answer. It's the same with every single coverage on your policy except tort. The tort election, we know exactly what the premiums will be with full tort. We know exactly what the premiums will be with limited tort. But we have no idea the extent of the coverage that tort is buying us versus not buying us, because it's keeping or giving up a legal right, not a coverage. So what's it worth? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. If you're injured in an accident, it might be a multi-million dollars, or it might be $10,000. It's a legal right we're choosing to give up or keep. So I implore you all to have a very high level of attention on this issue of tort. That's why I bring it up second in my discussion on coverages. The first is the liability limit you choose to purchase to protect you and your family and your businesses from loss due to an accident caused by yourself or your family members, to protect yourself from other lawsuits against you. But my very second topic in how important car insurance is has to go to tort. You are electing to give up a legal right of how much you have no idea you're giving up for a known premium reduction. So I want you to think twice and 3 times and 4 times and 5 times before you give up that legal right. I want you to try to find some other places in the car insurance policy to save that same amount of premium without giving up so much, because you don't know. It's an unknown amount. You're giving up all your legal rights in the future for pain and suffering. Now, I will tell you, even if you choose limited tort, there are a couple exceptions in the state law on that you're still able to sue for pain and suffering under certain circumstances, even if you chose limited tort. And those circumstances, a few of them, as an example, one would be permanent loss of bodily function. Even if you chose limited tort, it regains your right to sue for pain and suffering. So that would be loss of an arm or a limb or an eye, something like that. A second one is an out-of-state motorist. And a third one is an uninsured motorist. So if an uninsured motorist hits you and you know who it is, you still have the right in most cases under even limited tort option to sue for pain and suffering. Same thing with an out-of-state motorist. They're punishing the uninsured motorist by saying, no, you don't get out of a lawsuit even if the person had limited tort. Now, let me give you a couple risks of the limited tort. Let's say you're injured in an accident and you want to make a claim against your own uninsured motorists. Most people don't even know what uninsured and underinsured motorist means on your policy. So you look on your own policy and you think it's required. I don't know, I guess I must have to have it. Folks, you don't have to carry uninsured and underinsured motorists on a Pennsylvania automobile insurance policy at all. So there's a minimum limit of liability to protect others of they're called statutory limits. $15,000 a person is all you have to carry against another person suing you in the state of Pennsylvania. $30,000 per accident occurrence and $5,000 for property damage caused to that other person. Very low statutory limits, but there are statutory limits. You are required to carry the bare minimum limits. If you injure someone else, you can't drive without those. But you're not required to carry anything for uninsured and underinsured motorists. But here's an issue. So you do have a choice there. But here's an issue. If you do have uninsured motorist coverage and underinsured motorist coverage, you expect to be able to collect. And that is basically a pain and suffering coverage for you on your own policy, that you are purchasing limits so that if another person hits and injures you and does not have insurance or is underinsured, let's say has some insurance but not enough to cover the full extent of your injuries, that you can make a claim against your own uninsured or underinsured motorist policy and collect up to the benefits that you've purchased. You might even have stacking benefits on your uninsured and underinsured motorist. What that means is if you have one car or two cars or three cars and have stacking, you're actually able to multiply, even though you were injured in just one of those cars, the uninsured limits that you have purchased by two cars or three cars and stack them all onto the one car you were injured. So if you have a $50,000 uninsured motorist coverage and three cars, you might have a maximum limit actually on one claim of $150,000, even though it's only one person injured because you bought stacking. So it's very complex. But the key to the gateway to the coverage of uninsured motorists for pain and suffering is, guess what? What tort option you have, what right to sue you have, because under most policies you have to have full tort or full right to sue for pain and suffering, or you cannot get access to the uninsured motorist coverage on your own policy for pain and suffering. I know most of you don't know that. I know I'm going fast through this show. I'm not here to teach you everything about the world of insurance. I'm here to help illuminate areas that you should be being talked to about, and no one is. That's why I put the show on, folks. I keep saying that. I'm here to address issues, to illuminate, shed light on, help identify areas for you to say and become aware of, hey, I didn't know this until I listened on the radio or watched this on TV, that these issues were important. I better relook at that again. So yourself, your husband, your wife, sit down, look at these and say, listen, we don't want to go insurance poor. We can't afford the insurance we have now. But maybe we have the wrong coverages for our situation. Maybe it's possible to reposition, reallocate the coverages, tailor them to our personal needs and situation for the same premiums we're now paying, but just use them in different areas and be better protected for the needs that you have. Now that's success. So I wanted to go over that in today's show, part 2 of how to read your car insurance policies and what to do about them. So you know I cover a lot of areas in this show. It's called All Things Financial for a reason. We're here to help anyone who has questions to get better help than you're getting now from your current advisors. Give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out or even teach you how to read what you already have and are paying for and thought you were happy with. All right, folks, I appreciate your tuning again to another edition of All Things Financial. We'll be back again next week.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Inc., member FINRA SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Insurance services offered through Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services Inc., which is not affiliated with SagePoint Financial Inc.